thank you, all of you. I'll let you introduce yourself, but we really wanted to, this afternoon, put some concrete examples of people building. You already seen a few of them already today, but I think there's a vertical and industry that's really looking at agentic, in a more advanced way, because I don't know if you looked at all the demos since ChatGPT has been released, but basically book me a flight for that, or book me a room for that, or like just, it's been like kind of a very recurring use case that we almost bored about, but we haven't really seen it like become a reality yet. So we're not there yet, but many people are working on it, and MCP might be a really good path to that. So yeah, I'll let you guys introduce yourself first, and then we're gonna jump right into it. So you want to start, Kevin?
Thank you, Pierre-Louis. Thank you very much for having me. So I'm Kevin, I'm the co-founder of Jinko. At Jinko, we are building an MCP-first travel company, trying to reinvent how travel is searched and booked within the LLM. We deeply believe in the technology in the MCP because we don't have any app, we don't have any website, so we are fully committed to reinvent the experience. Prior to Jinko, I have an experience in the online travel agency because I have worked and led the European expansion of Hopper, which is a big US online travel agency, from 2021 to 2024. I'm excited to be here and to discuss with this amazing panel today.
Vitas, you next.
Hello, everyone. Thanks again, Alpi, for inviting me. My name is Vitas. I'm from Kiwi.com, which is like a travel tech company. I work specifically in a product team that focuses on acquisition efficiency. And in that bucket comes ChatGPT apps, MCPs, to name a few. And other than that, also working or bootstrapping a company called Creative-Flow.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Sebastian. I work with a lot of AI experimentation and exploration for a company called Awaze that most people haven't heard of. Basically, it's a group of companies within vacation homes. And we have about 100,000 homes in Europe, and we welcome about 8 million guests a year. So we're quite big, even though few people have heard of us. And the oldest company in the group is actually 82 years old, so it's from 1944. And then our biggest company is from 1956. And we basically have been through a lot of cycles, and now we're probably going through the most impactful one, which is the AI one. So we're basically embracing this as best we can.
Awesome. Well, thank you all of you again for being here. I want to start with the first question, which is about how to keep up with the innovation. We've seen like so many acronyms today, so many crazy things going up, and even for us, that's like we at Alpic, we like breathe and live innovation. So sometimes it's hard. So I cannot imagine for you guys building like, and also we had the question from some like, when do you start? Why would you use that technology now? So yeah, I'd love to have your feedback on that.
Yeah, I can go first. So I'm lucky enough that the company has allowed me to just full-time do this and just explore and read things. So the challenge is more not how I keep pace, but how I pace myself, because I think it can be very draining to wake up every morning with something new launched. So yeah, basically it's what I do for a job, and I try to pace myself.
Vitas, you want to go next?
On a personal side, I try to get with the hype, but when it comes to the company where I work, I think we try to think from pragmatic perspective. Even though the new tech exists, first we evaluate if it makes sense for our business, if it makes sense for the customer base that we're serving, and finally, if it's extending like a product experience. If not, for example, with Universal Commerce Protocol, one team like a fintech, we're exploring that. Once we see the value we can deliver to in terms of the product experience or in terms of customer base, we jump on that. If not, we kind of wait and observe. Because one more thing I think needs to address also, what is working in US doesn't mean necessarily going to work in Europe. So we need to consider that context. And plus on top of that, you have like, let's say, this adoption circle. So again, what is working for a certain group doesn't mean that it's going to work for our business. So we try to think from pragmatical perspective beyond the hype.
I think on our side, we have limited resources, of course, as a startup, so we need to pick our battle. And the battle that we have picked since the beginning is MCP, and now MCP apps. So we try to be part as much as we can of the community and to be here today, to be in the MCP Developer Summit. And this is really the way we are trying to keep up. But yeah, for ACP and UCP, we are more like waiting for now and trying to just understand where the bus goes in.
So why building around MCP and MCP app and ChatGPT app now? Like, why do you feel like, okay, you looked at all of that, you picked your battle, but why you guys are exploring this technology at the moment? What do you think, like, it's only 1 year old? Like, is the maturity, you feel like the maturity is enough, or just like it was exploring because you don't want to miss the wagon? Like, what's the temperature here?
If I can start about that. So if the question is why we jumping on with ChatGPTs and MCPs, so first thing I think I think that in general, like flights business is quite difficult. You have like a big competition and a small margins. Because of that, you need to find new ways to acquire the customers. So we already know from internal data that I will not say specific numbers, but it's like 6-7 digits that come from ChatGPT. This type of users are more inclined to book the flights because we already get qualified in ChatGPT in terms of experiences, what we're looking for. So ChatGPT and MCPs is just additional layer to provide the value through real-time data, what you cannot get now. For example, if you search flights, it's just gonna be links to the landing pages. But because especially in Europe, you have like frequency of flights, you have like discrepancy in the pricing. So if I would summarize, ChatGPT and MCP is just experimental ways to see how we can improve experience and how to acquire more customers. And I think this, for example, ChatGPT is explicitly it's just additional layer of what we already have through LLM traffic.
Sebastian?
Yeah, it's very similar to what Vitas said for us as well, because when you plan a vacation, it's a very long process and a lot of research goes into it and a lot of inspiration. So it's actually a really good fit. And as I said, the company's been around for a while and it thinks very long term. So we probably think we'll still be here in the next 50 years. So in the 90s, a new technology came along called the internet, and the company was a bit slow to adapt to that. So now it's learned from that mistake because a lot of people under 35 are using ChatGPT. I think quite a large number, over 50% in the US. And these people will then grow older and become part of our customers, which is a bit older. So we're trying to be there with the next wave of customers, and it's also like a really good fit for us because it's visual, does the planning, yeah.
I think for us it's a bit different because we were starting from scratch and looking to capture a new opportunity, and there is 3 main components and the 3 main reasons why we have jumped on MCP. First is the technology. If you are back in 2023, 2024, every ChatGPT demo will be about booking a flight with operators mainly. It was not working, it was taking 9 minutes, it was token inefficient. So we were convinced that it will not be the solution to the industry. The second piece is the user behavior. You have probably used ChatGPT to plan your trip, and you have probably typed something like, plan me a trip for 7 days in Japan, I'm a foodie and I want some nature, this kind of stuff, with your friend and with your wife. And so this kind of behavior were not possible in the travel industry before, because before we were like browsing website, typing filters, and we don't get access to any personalized information about this. So this is the first. The second point is about the new experience that we can create. And I think we are just starting on our side, and we are going to explore what is possible to do. And the third point is about distribution. Whenever you want to create a new company, especially in consumers, you need to have a breakthrough in terms of distribution channel. And Elliot talked about the discoverability stuff. I think this is a new form of SEO that is coming. I don't like it, the word GEO and some stuff, because I think everything is messy. But definitely there will be a new way to acquire customer organically and via paid on this new channel. And if you look at travel industry back in the day, the biggest company have been built around SEO and SEA, like Booking.com, TripAdvisor, and I hope that it will be the case with the new wave of startup. Probably Jinko, hopefully, will be one of them. So that's the core reason why we are betting strongly on MCP.
If I may, one more thing I forgot to mention. So 2 things like on top of MCPs and ChatGPTs. So I think, especially for the flights and the companies that you said that build this on SEO. I think it's also, my expectation is also it's going to help to improve or make it stronger, the brand visibility on LLMs by having, in this case, for example, ChatGPT app. Plus, I expect that people who don't find ChatGPT app but search the flights and find like a source, oh, maybe I will check if the app exists like this. And number two, and thanks to Alpic, a feedback. Like basically we're seeing the feedback. I think this is a good prep work for this, let's say, agentic experience. And a final thing is try to think or try to analyze how these cohorts that specifically comes through this, let's say, platforms, how they behave, what's the lifetime value, like if they're coming back, if they purchase more than, let's say, if you go direct, and things like this. So I think a lot of benefits involved being on top of that, while still being kind of rational, meaning like don't go purely with the hype.
Yeah, of course. I think it's the right time to play with the technology and test it in the real ground. So now let's move into the future a little bit. Let's be a little bit more, even more fast forward than this crazy conference. What's the ultimate agentic booking experience for travel? Because some of us played with like the Booking.com, Expedia, Kiwi. Yeah, it's great, but we kind of all feel that we're not there yet, right? It's not like it's not as smooth as, I think the transition that's really not yet fully done is from the intent that you described, like you have a clear intent to then, okay, just book me the trip and avoid me opening 20 tabs or 20 apps and just like spending all that time in the spreadsheet and all that stuff that we all been doing. So yeah, I kind of want to see your views, like, or forget all the limitations that we have today in the MCP or ChatGPT app technology. What do you think make a really great agentic experience in a couple of years from now?
I think it's two ways to see it. For example, if I travel for work, I want to worry as little as possible. I want just things to be done, so I'm happy to just have an agent do everything. I got a OpenClaw like a few days ago on my phone, and I can see, all the security stuff aside, let's say that works. This could definitely do that. Like it could just take care of everything and just tell me where I need to go. But when I want to do it for like personal or family travel, I would like something more manicured. I want to see things. I want more visual things. I want more input. And if things go wrong, I also want to be able to reach a human. So that should also be very quick. Yeah.
I completely agree with what you said. I think the two primitives about the ultimate agentic booking experience and where AI should help is giving back time to consumer and personalization. And this is really where I think in the leisure travel, I don't think personally that we are going to delegate all the travel booking to an AI, because you still need to be in the loop to make the right call. You're spending few thousand of dollars in your yearly trip, so you can't delegate it to an AI. But I think trip planning is a good use case. It's not a use case that make a lot of money, unfortunately, in the travel industry, but it's one of the primitives that we have seen on ChatGPT rising. And the core reason is because a lot of people are planning their trip on Excel today, trying to discuss with their friends on WhatsApp, to trying to understand what everyone wants. So this is like a kind of core issue that is taking time that AI will completely remove. And the last part, of course, is the booking experience that you have discussed. To me, it will be impossible to overpay a flight ticket or an hotel tomorrow, because the AI will compare all the prices for us. So we are not going to, accept the non-transparency in terms of pricing, which is like something pretty new in the industry, because like any OTA has a different price. We are paying the same hotel different price just because of the website that we are visiting, right? And I think it will never be the case tomorrow.
I kind of just a little bit elaborate. I see in a similar case, but I will try to from different maybe angle. So when it comes to this agentic experience, when I think about that, I think the most way where it's most likely going to be adopted is going to be business travel, especially if it's like repetitive business travel and for example, Paris, London, right? You have like your personal agent or whatever has like free suppliers of airlines, and the margin of error is very small because the ticket is very, it's not expensive, etc. So I think this is most likely where adoption is going to happen. Plus, in that, you're most likely going to have like in connection with expense management system, loyalty programs, and things like this. When it comes to family planning or long-haul planning, I think we're not even close, and for a couple of reasons. So first of all, there's a lot of things involved. If you ever travel, for example, I spent 2 months now in Argentina, went with the family. It's very anxious. Is it baby, whatever, is bed included? My luggage is not. So, for example, my wife or someone else as well would not trust this for the agent, because not just because of a technology perspective, because it's also how much messy it is. I think we unrealistically assume that airlines, airports have the same tech, expertise or preparation as we expect. So this is one thing. And a second thing is, when it comes especially for longer flights, is people already don't trust the prices that comes from Booking, Kiwi, etc. So for example, the most common, and most likely you did yourself, you go to Kiwi, Booking, whatever, check the prices, and then you book on airline. So if you do that, most likely you're not going to have a trust. So it goes back to the point, even if a tech is ready, the trust, the human factor, how much I trust and how much autonomy I want to give is going to be a lagging thing, I would say.
I mean, and it's a great segue to the next point, which is like the trust, right? Like you said, like the travel can be super anxious, especially when it's with family and like a big amount of money sometime. And now in this kind of a hybrid experience where you have a chat and a brand kind of mixed together, you don't know like who's in charge. Like, is it ChatGPT or Anthropic? Is it like Kiwi or like Booking or whoever? And that I think, like, how do you see? And also, there's a big challenge between like, okay, these big labs that want to be in control of everything and be like this OS that you do everything with them, but they also kind of need to leave some room to the businesses in the room here to make money and have their brand live as well. So yeah, how do you see that dynamic, as particularly to the travel industry where it's important for you to know your customers?
Okay, I'll go. Yeah, so I guess the AIs are encroaching more and more into what we used to do in terms of searching and discovery and all that. So I guess the differentiator and what makes you trustworthy will be at least in my case, the physical experience and how you inevitably sort the bad situations when something goes wrong, because then I guess you'll need a human to help you out. So making sure that you still have that fallback. And something particular to sort of vacation homes is images. So we're also exploring a bit with AI enhancement of images, and this can be a slippery slope. We're still not sure exactly how it's going to be received, but we're thinking it's okay to remove a pair of socks from a room, but not add a swimming pool. So it's going to be sort of a fine line we have to be careful with. Yeah.
I think it will be also probably the time to go back to human. I think human would be very important in the near future.
No, it's over.
No, I don't think so, and especially because like it will be so easy in the future to compare prices, to delegate tasks to agents. So you want to have, and I have seen that first glance, and probably at Kiwi as well. Whenever you have an issue, you want a number to contact someone. Even if you have the best travel agent, you want to know that someone is able to pick up the phone and to reroute you to book a new hotel for you, like to make it happen, basically. And so what I think about the brand and the trust is you have twofold. You have how, as a brand, you can trade trust. And I think it will be by putting that human in the loop, like a real customer service, not the one that we have on Expedia or any other OTA, not Kiwi, of course. And the second point is about the LLM itself, like how we are going to have a deterministic way to, so it's impossible by nature, but now building MCP, we can see that our MCP sometimes is not responding well because ChatGPT and the other LLM are not using the right parameter. This is what we have seen with Yann. And so there is a lot to be made in evals and testing to make it happen. It's easy to build an MCP. It takes 2 weeks, as Le Bon Coin explained. But to make it really reliable, to create a trust in the brand, it's much more complicated. And I think this is where we should all work to build a good experience.
already forgot the question, but
The mix of the trust and the brand when your brand is actually inside someone else
yeah.
brand.
So I think when I think about that, I think like trust. Number one is if I trust ChatGPT, and number two, if I trust Booking.com, Kiwi.com, whatever. So I think it's again back to how much autonomy I want to give in decision making. For example, maybe I do, and this is I think ChatGPT or whatever LLM makes great, let's say, use case is kind of closing the loop of planning and discovery, etc. But the decision still is on me, and I book where I want. So I think this is the one part of a trust. And the second thing, I think it's on companies to build this brand visibility and things like this. Because where I'm going with this is, when I think about this agentic experience, etc., the winner is going to be all unique content, or the ones that have a scale. For example, Expedia and Booking.com that has a scale. So I think from that perspective, I think like this intermediate ODAs is at risk become like a backend of a kind of database or supply for LLMs, etc. So because of that, I think like this. Other companies needs to build a brand trust, think about added value for the customers, etc. And this is leans back to the point like how to make this apps visible, right? Because essentially this visibility thing is just a new way of SEO app store optimization with the twist for the platform. So I think it's quite messy, quite messy, I would say on that side.
Okay, so let's ask the tough question now. The travel industry is pretty complex, from like the airlines, the hotels, and it's like 1,000 intermediaries, the GDS, the ticketing systems, the OTAs. It's like a pretty deep industry. So who's gonna make it and who's gonna die in that world? Because obviously there's now a new intermediary with ChatGPT. And it might replace another one. We've seen that before when you're talking about the emergence of the internet. It's been like a pretty dramatic change in the way we've been consuming travel. Way less travel agency in the streets. So yeah, what's happening for all these layers? Go ahead.
I think one of the first players to be in a very uncomfortable position will be MetaSearch. MetaSearch is Kayak, Liligo. So it's people that are basically comparing price without fulfilling the tickets for you. Of course, they're in bad position because the founder of the internet will be ChatGPT, and probably there will be agents on ChatGPT able to compare all prices for you. And their business model is relying on cost per click. So they are just redirecting the user to a new website. And probably 5 years from now, there will be no website. So MetaSearch, I think, is in trouble. The big winners to me will be suppliers, so airlines and hotels, especially hotels, because airlines have the firepower to negotiate. They have a large market share in their domestic market, but hotels is a very fragmented market, and they are paying a huge commission to Booking and Expedia today. I think they have a huge bet now to be their own MCP, and because people will be just one prompt away to say, oh, I want to book direct, and the direct experience will be as good as the OTA. I think a lot of trust will move to the hotel indirect again. And this is already what we see, right? We are a lot here to use Booking and then to book on the hotel indirect because it's cheaper. And the last point will be OTAs, you, me, and you, Sebastian, as well. I think either if you have a differentiated supply, which is the case for you or the case for Airbnb, you are in a good position because you own the supply. If you don't, you will need to create some value. And the value will be not the single item booking, that book a hotel or book a flight separately. It will be, to me, like book the entire trip, because the intent will be about the trip itself, not the item itself. And so if we can guarantee that the user can book the trip with the right servicing, insurance, guarantee that everything goes well, I think the OTA has still a role to play. If not, probably stoppers will win.
Super insightful. Anyone want to add something here?
I agree.
I think just to add on top of what already said, I think the biggest losers in visitation is going to be definitely meta searches if they're not going to do something else. For everyone, if you don't know what is meta search, for example.
Is anyone working for a meta search here?
Meta search is essentially just aggregator of offers, and when you click, it goes to a specific website. For example, Kayak Skyscanner is meta search, so meaning we don't give any value, we just aggregate and provide UI results, right? In Kiwi's case, which is considered like online travel agency, is they have that part, but they also have what is called virtual interlinking service, which is basically means if you want to go to Paris to some small town in Croatia, most of Skyscanner, Kayak, etc. could not find that. But what Kiwi does, they stitching together the airlines. Okay, so this is about this unique point. So. In terms of the losers, I think it's definitely the meta searches. If you're not going to find a way how to differentiate or how to keep the customer base in app loyal to the brand and things like this. And the biggest winners, I think, if I would put my money, I would put on Google, because we have infrastructure and we have distribution. And the key thing is 2 points. So number one thing is you have Google Flights, you have AI overviews, AI mode, which is already cutting the top of a funnel traffic. For example, find me flights to Madrid, whatever, it's going to be already kind of shown. So I think the Google will be the biggest winner until the government going to step in with antitrust or something like this. So this is
Good
bad.
luck with that.
Yeah, and number two thing, when I think about ChatGPT, I think we slightly overestimating ChatGPT impact, because Gemini is picking up in terms of like number of users. Number two, if you think like ChatGPT users, what is the distribution of them? Most of this customer base is different countries, not just US. So we don't have the same purchase power, we don't have the interest, we don't know about your brand. So if you think from, let's say, ChatGPT app for Kiwi, when I calculated, it's only a couple million of users in Europe. So all this fatigue about 800 users is nonsense. So again, you need to kind of think like more realistically about that.
I think something we haven't even mentioned would be physical travel agencies, which I guess might be impacted, or just the thought there might be a lot of fatigue and they
Coming
might
back,
actually have a comeback. I don't know.
On this one, I think this is going to become, like this AirPods, not AirPods, but how do you say? Like that coming back with this, etc. So I think like this physical online travel agencies is going to be for exclusive, for premium and things like this. It's definitely not. We're going to find our own niche, right, to serve a certain market.
Yeah, and it's still a pretty big market, the physical online agency. Like obviously, because the travel industry has been growing so much over about 30 years that the physical OTA, I mean the physical agencies actually been growing as well because of the size of the market growing. You already started to evoke that. Last question, and then we can perhaps take a couple of questions from the crew. So Gemini, ChatGPT, Anthropic, Mistral. A year ago, Google was dead. Now Google is killing ChatGPT. What do you think? Like, what's your prediction that's for what's coming next? You already said it, Vitas.
I agree with Vitas that Google just has the scale and everything up to Google Pay. They can just close the whole buying cycle. But a few years ago, nobody would have ever thought of challenging Google. They controlled everything, and then OpenAI came along, and there was some cracks in the wall. So, I mean, never say never. But yeah, probably Google, unless they do something really wrong.
By the way, on Google, I think on Gemini, you can still now use Google Flight and Google Hotel directly as a tool, as apps in Gemini. So I think it's pretty cool, the integration that I've made. My personal bet is we don't know who is going to win the war yet. I think it's too soon to tell. I will also hope that Meta will probably do a move and support MCP apps. So if there is Meta people in the room, please hear us. And of course, Apple is going with Apple Intelligence, even if it's powered by Gemini. There will be some probably also good stuff to build there. So I think we don't know yet. And as a builder, we should just hope that MCP apps will be adopted across the industry, so we don't have to rebuild every time. And yeah, try to deliver a good experience on each of those channels.
When I think about this question, I don't think, let's say, on when, for example, when I think about ChatGPT, Gemini, etc., I think like more like as a kind of channels or platforms. Every different user have different preferences of Gemini, ChatGPT, for Claude, whatever, whatsoever, right? So we need to think from that perspective. But again, back to the point, if I put money, I would bet on a Google because of the things what already mentioned. And I would say Meta, for me, it's like a dark horse, which is going to pull at some point something, given that we have WhatsApp, Instagram, and also maybe not in markets like US or whatever, but you have a different Southeast Asia, Brazil, where WhatsApp, Instagram is very common communication tool and search. So I think it's definitely Meta gonna do something. But when it comes to 2026, I would still bet on Google bringing a Steam.
Yeah, Google is definitely in good shape, but yeah, I think I agree. I mean, my personal view is that the war is still on, and I kind of disagree with the people saying that Google killed ChatGPT already. I think it's far from the truth. Google always struggled to make good products. Like, as crazy as it is to say that, they're not like a really good product company. Yeah, but again, they have this deep integration that is just amazing.
I mean, all the exciting things coming in the past years has been OpenAI, you know, like with the reasoning models and Sora and all of that. So it can still happen. And also important to keep an eye on the open source models, because they could serve as the foundation for something in the future. Maybe like when Linux came along while Mac and PCs were fighting, something like that.
Either we're going to take 2 questions before the break. Anyone wants to jump into that?
So you're building a lot of tools that are relying on ChatGPT, Gemini to call you. Do we need LLM neutrality rules to ensure fair tool choice, ad choice?
Neutrality, LLM neutrality rules, like that they choose fairly. Well, I think the question is like, what is fair? Like, because this is, yeah, not always booking, yeah.
It's a touchy one.
No, but I'm thinking how to spin this. I don't know if it needs to be done on an LLM's case specifically, but I think something needs to be done so the biggest players just not grab even more land. For example, when ChatGPT apps launched, right, the Booking and Expedia was the first ones, right, kind of gatekeeping. It makes sense because we're biggest in US and this is where we launched, and also we bring brand recognition, etc. But on the same time, you're cutting other players. So I think at some point, something needs to be done that, you know, like you don't have essentially oligopoly or monopoly in, for example, Fi specifically. But I'm not sure if it needs to be done on a LLM case.
Well, anyway, you can ask the question to this amazing crew just at the break. Thank you again. Super insightful discussion. And yeah, let's keep going. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having.
Thank you.